of thousands of us.
Good morning, Facebook.
Where we wanted to go on this Christmas day. And the chaos isn't just for people. Samantha Stevens spent the night in Houston after several delays trying to get from Las Vegas to New York. And what she saw at Houston's Hobby Airport.
There was luggage all over baggage claim. It was on the baggage reels. It was on the floor. It was up against the walls and cordoned off into little areas. And there was a whole bunch of people running around who worked for the airport trying to make some sense of it. And there was nobody there to pick it up.
That huge once-in-a-generation storm has mostly now gone out to sea. As for what's next,
nothing really on the horizon the next week or so, but I'm sure we'll see something here eventually as we go through the rest of the winter.
Meteorologist Mark Chenard at the National Weather Service does say a big, wet, warmer system is set to hit the Pacific coast by tomorrow. In 18-degree weather, wearing just T-shirts in some cases, several busloads of migrants were dropped off in front of the Naval Observatory yesterday. That's the home of the vice president. Local shelters in D.C. and churches took in the people. No word where they came from, but Texas Governor Greg Abbott has boasted about sending migrants north since summer. Outrage and frustration in Bloomington, Minnesota, as police investigate the fatal shooting yesterday at the Mall of America.
People flat out are just not cooperating, and people don't want to talk.
Bloomington Police Chief Booker Hodges says police have arrested 5 people and are hunting for a 6th. A 19-year-old man was killed in a shooting that stemmed from a fight inside a department store. 3 NFL games on the schedule today involving just 2 teams with decent playoff hopes. Dolphins host Green Bay, followed by the Broncos at the Rams. Tonight, the Bucs are in Arizona. This is USA News.
So right now, maybe
Decent
the
playoff
perfect
hopes.
time for you to rethink
Meanwhile, they're
how you
6
pay
and
for
8.
healthcare. And here's why. Not only is it open
If the
enrollment for
NFC
a lot
was
of
just a
people,
little bit
it's also
better,
a time
we
you
wouldn't
can
be
join
talking
Medishare
about
and
Tom
save
Brady in the
even more than
playoffs.
usual. And it's true, the typical family switching to Medishare saves
Yeah, that was
$500
supposed to
more a
happen, huh?
month, which is obviously huge.
No, they're horrible.
What's more, they like it.
They make the
Medishare
playoffs, they're gonna
has
get
doubled
bounced
the customer satisfaction
immediately.
rate compared to health insurance.
They're gonna face like
There are 400,000
the number
members.
one
They
seed
share
or
over $4
something
billion
like
in
that,
medical bills.
and
It
they're
really
gonna
is
get
a great
bounced.
community too.
They
People
are not a
encourage
good
and pray
team
for each other.
at
And
all.
here's the thing: if you join Medishare Complete right now, they'll waive your
We'll
new
see,
member
but-
fees and you'll save an additional 10% off all of
Well,
2023.
I'm thinking they're gonna get
No
The Bengals
free
are a good team. That's
10%
why.
off every month of next year, but it's a
Patriots, that's
very
fine.
limited time
Right.
offer. You have to sign
Bengals
up
are a very good
before
team.
December 31st.
Took them a while to
Great
get going,
savings.
but
Care
they are a good
more.
team.
Call now. 833-34
And they almost
Bible.
lost
That's 833-34
yesterday, so
Bible.
they're a good team, but they got some issues too.
Bible.
A bit of good holiday news when it comes to the flu. The CDC says after a strong start, the flu is decreasing in many parts of the USA. Flu hospital admissions dropped for the 2nd straight week, and doctor visits related to the flu are down for the 3rd week in a row. The Mega Millions lottery jackpot's back to oh my territory.
So during the weather, you're not
Friday,
going
so
to
the
hear
next
a
drawing on
temperature
Tuesday
higher than
will
30.
be worth more than $500 million. It'll be the 6th largest prize in Mega
Not good.
Millions history.
Very cold.
And nobody won the Saturday night Powerball drawing, so that prize goes to just over $200 million for Monday's drawing.
10 degrees.
Coming soon to an Adidas store near you, Kanye West sneaker.
Yeah,
Without
the
any
Tom,
reference to
the-
West or Ye
the
or
one
the
with the
Yeezy
fire,
brand.
the guy in
TMZ
school.
reports since it
Right.
cut ties with
He
West,
worked,
Adidas is sitting on more than
on
$500
Friday.
million worth of
He drove a
Yeezy
truck.
shoes, and it plans to
He
sell
walked the
them
gate.
unbranded. One of the first things
I had
the
to go to
new
Target.
mayor of Los Angeles
Yeah,
is doing
spray
is
for half an hour.
undoing one
Why
of
would
the
you-
last
why would you
things
walk the
done
gate?
by her
That
predecessor.
weather's coming.
Karen Bass has rescinded outgoing Mayor Eric
I
Garcetti's
texted Ted,
executive order to find a way to light up the famous Hollywood sign. Garcetti's order signed on his final day in office last week would have established a program to allow the big sign in the Hollywood Hills to be illuminated. But neighbors have objected. They cite traffic, the impact on wildlife, and
You
just
spray
overall
Took
safety
a
in the
while, you know
area.
what I mean?
Rich
You're working.
Johnson, USA
Put my
News.
key.
My Pillow is
Nobody
excited to announce the original My Slippers are back in stock. Last Christmas, you made them the #1 selling My Pillow product, and now they've added smaller sizes, larger sizes, wide sizes, and all new colors. And now they're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2023. So go to mypillow.com and use promo code USA or call 800-951-8175. Use promo code USA to save $90 on the original My Slippers. That's only $49.98 a pair.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host and do not express the views of WVBF ownership or Hometown Talk Radio. Content aired on all programs are those of the host and their guests. Hey, Joey, what's happening? I mean, what's happening in Middleboro and surrounding towns? It's time for the Middleboro Week in Review with your host, Joey Driscoll. Stay tuned for news, Middleboro news, here on AM 1530 WVBF. Hey, Joey, what's happening?
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Middleboro in Review. I'm Joey Driscoll. I am joined, as always, by Dawn, and I am also joined by a special guest, a friend of ours, Kevin Wynn. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so it is Christmas. I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas here as we get going for the day. We'll have a full day of programming here on WVBF. Go over what we are going to have here in just a minute, but let's do weather. Right now, let's start off with Taunton. 11 degrees currently outside of our Taunton Federal Credit Union studios here at 14 Church Green. A high of 29 today. Sunny skies. Tomorrow, 34 degrees with a low of 22. So some good weather. Well, cold, but no rain in the forecast, so that's good. Middleboro weather. Middleboro, 13 degrees, a high of 29 today and a low of 13. Tonight, tomorrow, a high of 34 and a low of 22 for Monday. Driscoll, Texas, 26 degrees, a high of 52 today, so it's going to get up into the 50s. It's also been very cold in Texas. A lot of Texas and a lot of the country has been cold. I think I saw a temperature of like 20 degrees in Lubbock, Don, at one point during this past week.
It's cold for Texas.
It is. It really is. So 52 today, so it's going to warm up pretty good. It's going to be in the 60s on Monday and Tuesday, and then almost 80 on Wednesday, so it's going to warm up quite well. Texas will rebound quite well from this weather. And Driscoll, North Dakota, it's going to take a little bit for them to rebound, but they'll rebound as well on Tuesday with a high of 32. But today it is right now a high of -5, a low tonight of -12 with a high today of 12. Tomorrow 9 degrees with a low of 8, and then on Tuesday it starts to warm up once again in Driscoll, North Dakota. Going over our programming schedule for today, because we do have a full slate of programming. So we have Middleboro Review, of course, that's coming up right now and already on the air. So that's coming up. And then 8 o'clock, we will have the Rosary. 8:30 we will have the Rosary. Getting ahead of myself. 8 o'clock we will have Bread of Life. And the program is called The Day Love Was Born. It's going to be a Christmas-related message from Pastor Ortez Bancross. 8:30, then we'll have the Rosary. 9 o'clock will be Medicare Moment with Martha. And then from 9:30 to 11, you'll have the Talking Information Center. And then we come back for our second part of the day. From 11 to 12, we will have Musical Odyssey with Sutka, and today's program is a classical Christmas. From 12 to 2, we will have Sounds of the Emerald Dial with Jim Larkin, and that is going to be all Christmas music and some comedy as well, I'm sure. And 2 to 3 o'clock, I believe Stand Up Strong will be on the air this morning. Yes.
Ed and Tony are coming in?
I believe Ed will be coming in. I think
okay.
Jim had said, Jim Larkin had said that Ed would be coming in.
That works out good because Jim usually does the board for Ed, but for Tony. Ed does the board for himself.
Yeah.
But when Ed's out and Tony comes, that means Jim takes care of it. Sometimes you take care of it. Which is
So yeah, we're gonna have a full slate of stuff today. And tomorrow I am gonna be on the air with the news, the morning wake up news. Chris is off, as tomorrow is the holiday observed. And same thing with New Year's. I will be on the air New Year's after New Year's, January 2nd, which is also a Monday. I'll be on the air with the morning wake up news as well. Quick little thing to read here. This was left for me here. And the Taunton Emergency Management Agency has received many reports of trees and wires down around the city of Taunton. Please use caution if you are traveling. If you encounter a tree down with wires, do not approach. Please call 911 to report. So there might be a chance of trees still down. I know that the storm was ended on late Friday, but the flash freeze, and then Saturday it being very cold, so there's still a chance that there's probably some trees down that crews might have not been able to get out until Saturday to do it. So there's still a chance that there's trees down. I know that there's some limbs down in Middleboro as well, even as of yesterday. So just be careful and mindful of that. So, Don.
Oh, yes. It's funny how Christmas comes at you, because sometimes you find yourself in a different situation which you normally wouldn't find yourself as an adult. Okay, yesterday, for instance, I had to go in. I was under the weather for most of the week, so I went back to work yesterday to go. I had to drop off a service van that I borrowed last week or whatever. I had it, and I had to go get oil, do a few stops, which was fine. And then I, dropped the service van, and so I was gonna, go take the tea back. So after I was all done, I take the bus back to Quincy Center, and I stopped, and I was like an hour before my train leaving Quincy Center, and I stopped at a place called a pizza place in Quincy, Naples, and it's just, as far as Christmas and childhood memories, I spent a lot of time in my teenage years with my closest friends, one being right next to me on the right-hand side. So I was able to have a couple slices and watch the Patriots game, watch the Patriots get stomped on, right? And then I walked from this pizza place to Quincy Center, and there goes all those childhood memories just all over the place. Walking through an area I grew up with all the lights and the music, Quincy Center, just a walk. It just put me in a different perspective. It made me feel good. The walk just from the pizza place to the train station. Because I've always been in a situation where I was with my close friends, and we walked the streets on Christmas time and checked out the lights, and we did all that. And that's the most important thing. It's always the small things that's the most important thing. Okay, number two. All right, just a quick Christmas story. Right? So we do Chinese dinner, Christmas Eve. That's that tradition.
Yeah.
So we ordered from a place in Taunton, Hong Kong City, great place. But they missed something that was my favorite. It was just like it was like what I wanted, and it wasn't there. And I was kind of sad, a little. So I had to drive back, and I said, "Well, this is missing." The owner said, "I'm so sorry. Let me take care of you. He bought me a beer, and then give me a $20 coupon." I didn't ask for any of that, but I just love the idea that he went out of his way. He saw that I wasn't happy when I walked in. Now that's a good owner.
Yeah.
So that made me feel good, and I felt kind of a little rotten that I was a little upset about if I didn't get my dish. I felt a little selfish, but I was really looking forward to it, and I went home and had it, and it's good. So I'm going to give a shout out to Hong Kong City over in Taunton, Broadway, the owner was wonderful. He really went out of his way, and they were really busy. So, that's my little Christmas story.
And I want to give a shout out to our sponsors as well. Give a shout out to Spider Street Auto Body as well, who sponsors us. I want to give a shout out to Williams Trading Post, who also sponsors us.
Right. Hey, Joey, you called the number, right?
I did, yes.
Now, we have reefs to go. That's what that's what Martha said on the.
Yes.
So, if you were to guess, what's that mean? That maybe there's reefs there and there's a bucket you can throw
On a
10
system, as you
on a system.
you put it.
So if you're in the area and there's some reefs left and you're heading to grandma's house or wherever you're heading and you want to bring a reef, there might be some reefs at Williams Trading Post. What's the address? You got that?
556 Wareham Street.
Okay.
I don't even have to look.
All right. So they might have something. They did mention it. So they've been a great sponsor. And how about you, Kevin? Do you have a little story to tell us about Christmas yesterday or something that may brought back some memories, something?
So I've always been kind of a last minute shopper. And yesterday I woke up early and I went to the shops at Derby Street, and I, don't usually plan what I'm going to get for people. And I went to the shops at Derby Street and just kind of wandered around and let the Christmas spirit kind of flow into me and guide me. And then, I was able to get all of my Christmas shopping done yesterday. And I really enjoy doing that. A lot of people kind of plan their Christmas ahead of time, and they got everything to go a month ahead of time. And, not me. I've always been kind of a spontaneous person, and I always kind of wait till the last minute. And that's what I did yesterday, and I kind of enjoyed that feeling, that experience, going there and seeing people rush around, and I just kind of get into the Christmas spirit and think about what I'm going to get for people, and it worked out great. I had a great day yesterday.
How about you, Joe? What was your little thing yesterday?
Yesterday, just being home with family. I think it was extremely important. Being home with family and just spending the day with family. The Christmas dinner was amazing, and yeah.
And you picked me up at the train station.
And I picked you up at the train station. Yes, yeah.
That's a highlight.
Yeah, well, it's a highlight that I had to walk home. 11 degree weather.
So, Kevin, you have a poem for us today. Tell us a little bit about the poem.
So it's actually a short story, and it's written by Dylan Thomas. Dylan Thomas was a Welsh storyteller and poet. He's probably most famous for his poem, "Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night," which has the iconic phrase in it, "Rage, rage against the dying of the light." My grandfather was from Wales, and my father, kind of embracing his Welsh heritage, loved Dylan Thomas. He loved his poems and he loved his stories. And this story was one of his favorites. And when I was a child, he had recorded himself reading it on a cassette tape. And my father passed away when I was really young, when I was 4 years old. And it kind of made this story even more meaningful for my family.
All right, so we're going to hear that story right after this commercial break. You're listening to Middleboro in Review. I'm Joey Driscoll, joined by Don, joined by Kevin. It's Christmas Day, 2022. It is December 25th, 2022. And we'll be right back here on WVBF 1530 AM and 99.7 FM.
You had a good radio voice.
I hope so.
Get your job done.
So when we come back from the commercial break, when this Muppet music is playing, I'm gonna give you a countdown: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're just gonna go right into that story. coming out of the break.
That's a 20-minute read. That's
It's
one
a 20-minute
segment.
read, so.
And then when we go back to the break after that, you can put questions about it. And then, how much
It's 7:22.
Canadian history? Got a lot of that?
Got quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that might take us to the end.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be some talk about it from all of us. So.
Members from nearly all 50 states and living abroad. Many members continue to serve in our armed forces.
Speaking of today's history, let me get that up.
Combat areas now. We sponsor and participate in many motorcycle-related charity events each year, and as a nonprofit organization, donate to various veteran care facilities and veteran charities. To learn more about the Combat Veteran Motorcycle Association and how you can join or support, please visit cvma2-2.org.
Hi, this is Martha Clopin, your host for Medicare Moment with Martha. Each week, we present the latest information on health, legal, and lifestyle issues that affect you and your family. It's fascinating, fast-paced, and fun as we explore all aspects of the Medicare maze. So join me for Medicare Moment with Martha, Saturday mornings at 8 and Sunday mornings at 9 on AM 1530 and 99.7 FM WVBF, your hometown radio station.
Spark Street Auto Body, located at 48 Spark Street in Brockton, Massachusetts, offers the highest quality collision repair and complete auto service for your car. They are a direct repair shop for all major insurance companies. You should reach them at 508-583-1495. They're open Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5, and 8 to 4 on Fridays. Call them today. You will not be disappointed. 508-583-1495.
Hi, this is Jim Larkin. Hope you can join me every Sunday from noon to 2 o'clock here on WVBF, the Sounds of the Emerald Isle. We'll have some great Irish music, folk, traditional, country, and contemporary, and sometimes some live singers in the studio. And to make you laugh, some Irish comedy. That's Sundays from noon to 2 right here on WVBF, 1530 Taunton, Middleboro, and on the internet at hometowntalkradio.com.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Boy, okay. What happened? Ooh, what happened? Try that again. Ooh, I'm not sure why that's doing that. I'm not sure why that's doing that. No. 1 second here. Okay. Dawn?
So much for your smooth entrance, huh?
Yeah. Okay. Let's try that again. I'll shut my mic off. And I'm going to try that again. Let's hear the poem from Kevin Wynn.
Merry Christmas, everyone. This is A Child's Christmas in Wales by Dylan Thomas. One Christmas was so much like the other in those years around the Seatown corner. Now, out of all sound except the distant speaking of the voices I sometimes hear a moment before sleep, that I can never remember whether it snowed for 6 days and 6 nights when I was 12, or whether it snowed for 12 days and 12 nights when I was 6. All the Christmases rolled down towards the two-tongued sea like a cold and headlong moon bundling down the sky that was our street. And they stop at the rim of the ice-edged, fish-freezing waves, and I plunge my hands in the snow and bring out whatever I can find. In goes my hand into the wool-white, bell-tongued ball of holidays resting at the rim of the carol-singing sea, and out come Mrs. Prothero and the firemen. It was on the afternoon of the day of Christmas Eve, and I was in Miss Prothero's garden, waiting for cats, with her son Jim. It was snowing. It was always snowing at Christmas, December in my memory is white as Lapland. Although there were no reindeers, but there were cats. Patient, cold, and callous, our hands wrapped in socks, we waited to snowball the cats. Sleek and long as jaguars, and horrible whiskered spitting and snarling, they would slide and sidle over the white back garden walls, and the lynx-eyed hunters, Jim and I, fur-capped and moccasined, trappers from Hudson Bay off Mumbles Road, would hurl our deadly snowballs at the green of their eyes. The wise cats never appeared. We were so still, Eskimo-footed Arctic marksmen in the muffling silence of the eternal snows, eternal ever since Wednesday, that we never heard Mrs. Prothero first cry from her igloo at the bottom of the garden, or if we heard it at all, it was to us like the far-off challenge of our enemy and prey, the neighbor's polar cat. But soon the voice grew louder. "Fire!" cried Mrs. Prothero, and she beat the dinner gong. And we ran down the garden with the snowballs in our arms towards the house, and smoke indeed was pouring out of the dining room, and the gong was bombulating, and Mrs. Prothero was announcing ruin like a town crier in Pompeii. This was better than all the cats in Wales. Standing on the wall in a row, we bounded into the house, laden with snowballs, and stopped at the open door of the smoke-filled room. Something was burning all right. Perhaps it was Mr. Prothero, who always slept there after midday dinner, with a newspaper over his face. But he was standing in the middle of the room saying, "A fine Christmas," and smacking at the smoke with a slipper. "Call the fire brigade," cried Mrs. Prothero, and she beat the gong. "They won't be here," said Mr. Prothero. "It's Christmas." There was no fire to be seen, only clouds of smoke, and Mr. Prothero standing in the middle of the room, waving his slipper as though he were conducting. "Do something," he said, and we threw all our snowballs into the smoke. I think we missed Mr. Prothero and ran out of the house to the telephone box. "Let's call the police as well," Jim said, "and the ambulance, and Ernie Jenkins. He likes fires." But we only called the fire brigade, and soon the fire engine came, and 3 tall men in the helmets brought a hose into the house, and Mr. Prothero got out just in time before they turned it on. Nobody could have had a noisier Christmas Eve, and when the firemen turned off the hose and were standing in the wet, smoky room, Jim's aunt, Miss Prothero, came downstairs and peered in at them. Jim and I waited very quietly to hear what she would say to them. She said the right thing always. She looked at the 3 tall firemen in their shining helmets standing among the smoke and cinders and dissolving snowballs, and she said, "Would you like anything to read?" Years and years ago, when I was a boy, when there were wolves in Wales and birds the color of red flannel petticoats whisked past the harp-shaped hills, when we sang and wallowed all night and day in caves that smelt like Sunday afternoon in damp front farmhouse parlors, and we chased with the jawbones of deacons the English and the bears before the motor car, before the wheel, before the duchess-faced horse, when we rode the daft and happy hills horseback. It snowed and it snowed, but here a small boy says, "It snowed last year too." I made a snowman and my brother knocked it down, and I knocked my brother down, and then we had tea. But that was not the same snow, I say. Our snow was not only shaken from whitewashed buckets down the sky, it came shawling out of the ground and swam and drifted out of the arms and hands and bodies of the trees. Snow grew overnight on the roofs of the houses like a pure and grandfather moss, minutely ivied the walls, and settled on the postman, opening the gate like a dumb, numb thunderstorm of white, torn Christmas cards. Were there postmen there too? With sprinkling eyes and wind-cherried noses, on spread frozen feet they crunched up to the doors and mittened on them manfully, but all that children could hear was a ringing of bells. You mean that the postman went rat-a-tat-tat and the doors rang? I mean that the bells that the children could hear were inside them. I only hear thunder sometimes, never bells. There were church bells too. Inside them? No. In the bat-black, snow-white belfries, tugged by bishops and storks, and they rang their tidings over the bandaged town, over the frozen foam of the powder and ice cream hills, over the crackling sea. It seemed that all the churches boomed for joy under my window, and the weathercocks crew for Christmas on our fence. Get back to the postmen. They were just ordinary postmen, fond of walking and dogs and Christmas in the snow. They knocked on the doors with blue knuckles. Ours has got a black knocker. And then they stood on the white welcome mat in the little drifting porches and huffed and puffed, making ghosts with their breath, and jogged from foot to foot like small boys wanting to go out. And then the presents, and then the presents, after the Christmas box, and the cold postman with a rose on his button nose tingled down the tea-tray slithered run of the chilly glinting hill. He went on his icebound boots like a man on fishmonger's slabs. He wagged his bag like a frozen camel's hump, dizzily turned the corner on one foot, and by God, he was gone. Get back to the presents. There were the useful presents, engulfing mufflers of the old coach days and mittens made from giant sloths, zebra scarfs of a substance like silky gum that could be tug-of-warred down to the galoshes, blinding tam-o'-shanters like patchwork tea cozies and bunny-suited busbies, and balaclavas for victims of head-shrinking tribes. From aunts who always wore wool next to the skin, there were mustached and rasping vests that made you wonder why the aunts had any skin left at all. And once I had a little crocheted nose bag from an aunt now, alas, no longer whinnying with us, and pictureless books in which small boys, though warned with quotations not to, would skate on Farmer Giles Pond and did and drowned, and books that told me everything about the wasp except why. Go on to useless presents, bags of moist and many-colored jelly babies, and a folded flag, and a false nose, and a tram conductor's cap. A machine that punched tickets and rang a bell, never a catapult. Once by a mistake that no one could explain, a little hatchet and a celluloid duck that made, when you pressed it, a most unduckling sound. A mewing moo that an ambitious cat might make who wished to be a cow. And a painting book in which I could make the grass, the trees, the sea, and the animals any color I please. And still the dazzling sky blue sheep are grazing in the red field under the rainbow-billed and pea-green birds, hard-boiled toffee, fudge, and all sorts, crunches, cracknel, humbugs, glaciers, marzipan, and butter Welsh for the Welsh. And troops of bright tin soldiers who, if they could not fight, could always run. And snakes and families, and happy ladders, and easy hobby games for little engineers, complete with instructions. Oh, easy for Leonardo. And a whistle to make the dogs bark, to wake up the old man next door, to make him beat on the wall with his stick to shake our pictures off the wall. And a packet of cigarettes. You put one in your mouth, and you stood at the corner of the street, and you waited for hours in vain for an old lady to scold you for smoking a cigarette. And then with a smirk, you ate it. And then it was breakfast under the balloons. Were there uncles like in our house? There are always uncles at Christmas. The same uncles on a Christmas morning with dog-disturbing whistle and sugar fags. I would scour the swathed town for the news of the little world and find always a dead bird by the post office or the white deserted swings, perhaps a robin, all but one of his fires out. Men and women waiting, scooping back from chapel with taproom noses and wind-bust cheeks, all albinos, huddled their stiff black jarring feathers against the irreligious snow. Mistletoe hung from the gas brackets in all the front parlors. There was sherry and walnuts and bottled beer and crackers by the desert spoons, and cats in their fur abouts watched the fires and the high-heaped fire spat, all ready for the chestnuts and the mulling pokers. Some few large men sat in the front parlors without their collars, uncles almost certainly, trying their new cigars, holding them out. Snowbound backyards, singing like a big-bosomed thrush. I would blow up balloons to see how big they would blow up to, and then when they burst, which they all did, the uncles jumped and rumbled in the rich and heavy afternoon, the uncles breathing like dolphins and the snow descending. I would sit among festoons and Chinese lanterns and nibble dates and try to make a model man-o'-war, following the instructions for little engineers, and produce what might be mistaken for a sea-going tram car. Or I would go out, my bright new boots squeaking into the white world, onto the seaward hill, to call on Jim and Dan and Jack, and to pad through the still streets, leaving huge, deep footprints in the hidden pavements. I bet people will think There have been hippos. What would you do if you saw a hippo coming down our street? I'd go like this, bang. I'd throw him over the railings and roll him down the hill, and then I'd tickle him under the ear and he'd wag his tail. What would you do if you saw two hippos? Iron-flanked and bellowing, he-hippos clanked and battered through the scudding snow towards us as we passed Mr. Daniel's house. Let's post Mr. Daniel a snowball through his letterbox. Let's write things in the snow. Let's write, Mr. Daniel looks like a spaniel all over his lawn. Or we walk on the white shore. Can the fishes see it's snowing? The silent, one-clouded heavens drifted onto the sea. Now we were snow-blind travelers, lost in the North Hills, and vast, dew-lapped dogs with flasks around their necks ambled and shambled up to us, baying, Excelsior! We returned home through the poor streets where only a few children fumbled with bare red fingers in the wheel-rutted snow and catcalled after us, their voices fading away as we trudged uphill into the cries of the dock birds and the hooting of ships out on the whirling bay. And then, at tea, the recovered uncles would be jolly, and the ice cake loomed in the center of the table like a marble grave. Auntie Hannah laced her tea with rum because it was only once a year. Bring out the tall tales now that we told by the fire as the gaslights bubbled like a diver. Ghosts wooed like owls in the long nights when I dared not look over my shoulder. Animals lurked in the cubbyhole under the stairs where the gas meter ticked. And I remember that we went singing carols once when there wasn't the shaving of a moon to light the flying streets. At the end of a long road was a drive that led to a large house, and we stumbled up the darkness of the drive that night, each one of us afraid, each one holding a stone in his hand, in case, and all us too brave to say a word. The wind through the trees made noises as of old, and unpleasant and maybe web-footed men wheezing in caves. We reached the black bulk of the house. What shall we give them? Hark the herald? No, Jack said. Good King Wenceslas. I'll count 3. 1, 2, 3, and we began to sing, our voices high and seemingly distant in the snow-felted darkness round the house that was occupied by nobody we knew. We stood close together near the dark door. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen. And then a small, dry voice, like the voice of someone who has not spoken for a long time, joined our singing. A small, dry, eggshell voice from the other side of the door. A small, dry voice through the keyhole, and we stopped running. We were outside our house. The front room was lovely. Balloons floated under the hot water bottle, gulping gas. Everything was good again and shone over the town. Perhaps it was a ghost, Jim said. Perhaps it was trolls, Dan said, who was always reading. Let's go in and see if there's any jelly left, Jack said. And we did that. Always on Christmas night, there was music. An uncle played the fiddle. A cousin sang Cherry Ripe. And another uncle sang Drake's drum. It was very warm in the little house. Auntie Hannah, who had got onto the parsnip wine, sang a song about bleeding hearts and death. And then another in which she said her heart was like a bird's nest. And then everybody laughed again. And then I went to bed, looking through my bedroom window, out into the moonlight and the unending smoke-colored snow. I could see the lights in the windows of all the other houses on our hill and hear the music rising from them up the long, steadily falling night. I turned the gas down. I got into bed. I said some words to the close and holy darkness, and then I slept. The end.
And that was a poem from Kevin Lynn, and a great poem as well.
A little more than a poem, Joe. It's a story.
Just a great story.
Yeah, you did a great job on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it is 7:41, and we're going to take another commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to discuss the story with Kevin and Don and me. Also, if you want to call in and give your thoughts about the poem, poem/story, 508-822-1106 is the number. as well. So we'll be right back here on Middleboro in Review on 15:30 a.m. WVBF 99.7 WVBF. We'll be right back.
Just made it. That's a lot.
It's long.
It is.
Good story.
But it's good. Good stuff.
It's a different perspective on Christmas, you know?
Yeah.
What's that timeline like?
At Social
Late
Security,
1800s?
we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security.
A Child's
Our
Christmas
Social
in
Security
Wales.
account allows you to access your earnings history and benefits information. Request
So
for
we'll have
business
about
Social
10
Security
minutes to talk about the story, maybe a little less.
1952.
And then they'll give me about five minutes or so to talk about the today mysteries. Or so.
Social Security. Securing
5
today and
or so
tomorrow.
minutes.
Are you playing Martha's ad?
I just gave them a shout out. They're not open,
Oh, okay.
technically, so.
St. Vincent de Paul of
I
Sacred
gave him-
Heart
I gave him
Church
a
in
shout out.
Middleboro serves the residents of the towns of Middleboro, Lakeville, Carver, and Rochester.
Well, we really didn't give him a shout out. You should give him a thank you in the proper
I'll
spot.
play the ad.
Directly across the street from Sacred Heart Church in downtown Middleboro.
Might as well.
At this time, we serve approximately 500 families in our service area, and many of them come to us for various types of aid. This can take many forms, and include many of the following programs: utilities and rent assistance, agency referrals, clothing and furniture vouchers, and temporary lodging. For more information, go to svdbmiddleboro.org. May the good Lord bless you and keep you safe.
Combat Veteran Motorcycle Association is an association of combat veterans from all branches of the United States Armed Forces who ride motorcycles as a hobby. Our
Yeah, you
mission
should be
is
drawing
to
that.
support those
Thanks.
who have defended our country and freedom.
It is long.
It's good. It's really good. I love that poem. It was
Clothing,
really
shelter,
fun.
and guidance, or simply to say
It's just all different wording.
Yeah.
And that you don't
Like
hear
you
today,
really
you know?
don't hear now, yeah.
You know, and all the traditional poems and the traditional stories you hear at Christmas, they're just too much ingrained in your head. That's something different.
It's unique.
Yeah, something a different perspective.
Yeah, it's a unique and fun poem.
Telephone box, right?
care facilities and veteran charities. To learn more about the Combat Veteran
Gas lamp,
Motorcycle Association and how
Still using
you
gas
can
lamp back
join
then,
or
really?
support,
Right.
please visit cvma2-2.org.
Williams Trading Post is open.
What time's the show end?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
15 minutes.
You may need, like
So 10 minutes, to 8 or 10 minutes to talk about the story, and then that gives me about 5 to 7 minutes to talk about Canadian histories, because we get 4 Canadian histories and like 10 birthday, a lot of birthdays.
Just mention, you know, that give them a thank you and mention that they have some
We're gonna right now.
self-serve briefs.
And I want to thank Williams Trading Post once again for sponsoring during the fall and winter. And again, they have some reefs left.
Self-serve reefs.
Self-serve, yeah.
So whatever that means.
I don't know, but they have some reefs left. Go down to Williams Trading Post, 556 Wareham Street.
Well, they might not, but
But they might not now.
you checked the
We checked last night. So
Well, you
as
checked
of
her-
as of last night
as of last night on her,
on her email.
not email,
On a voicemail.
on the voicemail. That could have been a few days ago. So they
It could have been, yes. So they
But I
might
mean,
not,
she
but-
said self-serve, so I'm thinking self-serve to me is you pull up, you see a reef, and she's got a price on the, and then you throw it in a bucket.
Yeah.
Or it says free. So I mean, if you're going by there and you see some reefs there, or it could be totally closed for the season, but this is the 4th season, right?
Yes. Yes. I believe so. So let's talk about that poem. Poem/story. My thoughts. I loved it. Very unique and fun story to listen to. a different kind of story. A lot of stories that you hear on Christmas. This one's a lot different from that, and I think it's a fun poem and story.
I think, just like you said, and Kevin tells me the timeline's on the 50s, so early 50s, in Wales, England. Telephone box, lanterns, little gas lights. It does sound Christmassy to me. And what boys, will be boys, all the adventures they get into. Like I was saying at the beginning of the show, me and Kevin got into a lot of adventures, running around City Quincy around Christmas time, and we got into all sorts of mischief. I mean, fun. We weren't troublemakers. We just climbing rocks and just everywhere. So I think it's the story itself. Like you said, it's something different. It's different wording. It's different ways of looking at it. Looking at the story, looking at the perspective. Never mind. Where it is. It could be anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just the adventures. And it's always Christmas is always in the eyes of the children anyway. At the end of the day, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
100%.
so
Absolutely.
So I think just the wording, the uncle. The uncle. How many times he said uncle in that? It's just so. I thought bravo. I think he did a good job reading. 20 minutes reading. I don't think I could ever do that. I'd need practice and practice and practice. So
Me as well, yeah.
I'm really happy to have had the opportunity to share that story with both of you and with your listeners. I think it's a great story. It's filled with incredible imagery, and the story's a little bit chaotic. And when you think about it, that's kind of what Christmas was, at my house. My mother would always have everything all planned out, all perfectly planned out, and then as soon as everybody was there and everybody came down to open up their presents, it was chaos. Everybody would just rip their presents open at the same time, and it was just a jumble of people, and that's kind of the way that I kind of see it when I read the story. Just from a boy's perspective.
It's interesting on the timeline too. We talked about the timeline because those are the words you really don't hear anymore. First of all, telephone box is an English thing, Wales, English, and gas lanterns and the fire brigade.
The fire brigade.
So you know what I mean. And it's like Piccadilly. I don't know. It seemed that way to me. So that to me is something you don't hear too much in this country. You hear the traditional stories that you've heard over and over, but to have something new, fresh, new flavor, Christmas time, to have someone come on the air and read it on Christmas Day is the most special thing you can possibly have.
Well, I mean, there's no place I'd rather be than with my best friend and his son here on Christmas morning.
Yeah, it's the little things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the little things are extremely important, and yeah.
It's the only thing.
Yeah.
It's the little things.
And this has been a fun hour. This really has been.
Yeah, I was watching Joey as you were reading, and he just had a smile, and it's just, yeah. I mean, I think I picked my phone up once to check something, but I mean, I just put it down. I was just listening. I was just engrossed into the story, and it's funny too because I've never heard it before. So it's fresh, it's new, it's a fresh perspective. So it's not the traditional Christmas stories. I think they were read already on the area a couple of days ago. Right?
Yes, Tony played there was a little rendition of "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" that he played.
Right. I mean, everyone knows that, and it's a great story poem. But to hear something that's new and fresh,
it's not new, but it's unique.
Right.
New to most people.
But it's kind of a little off the cuff a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not really, it's not fine tuned.
Yeah.
It's not a totally fine-tuned story. It's just, like you said, it's chaos. It's kids are chaos, especially when it comes to Christmas. That's
absolutely
kids are chaos.
Yes.
It's just you come down, you rip everything apart. You probably broke the first toy that you opened. It's in pieces. Now your mother stepped on the plastic. She's pulling plastic out of her feet, and it's just I can imagine Christmas morning, which is you can't replace it. You just can't replace it. It's like chaos that's good. So,
7:52 a.m. and about 8 minutes to go here on the show, and we have time for Today in History's, Don.
Nice. All right.
Exciting Today in History's today.
Oh, you look at you. Nothing gets you more excited than Today in History, right?
First one we have
Christmas Day.
Yes, Christmas Day. There's some important events. Some important events happen on Christmas Day. 336. The year 336, first documentary sign of Christmas celebrations in Rome take place. 1800, the coronation of Charlemagne as Holy Roman Emperor in Rome, which is a very important event in history. Another very important event in history, 1776, George Washington and his Continental Army crossed the Delaware River at night to attack Hessian forces serving Great Britain at Trenton, New Jersey. The next day, everyone has seen the famous picture of George Washington on the boat there. Don, you've seen the picture, I'm sure.
Everyone's seen the
It's
picture.
a very iconic picture.
Yeah.
Another important today in history, 1991, Christmas Day. Mikhail Gorbachev resigns as president of the Soviet Union. The union itself is dissolved on December 26th. Ukraine's referendum is finalized, and Ukraine officially leaves the Soviet Union. Very important day in history, Don.
Yeah. That was, I think we all remember that because it was the end of the Soviet Union. And
can I offer this day in history?
Absolutely.
Well, on Christmas Day during World War I, we had the famous Christmas Truce when all of the people that were at war during that time, Germany, France, Russia, Britain, all ceased firing on Christmas Day, and they sang Christmas carols, and they had the Christmas truce.
That's another very important one as well.
Just too bad they just can't just stop.
Just stop then, yeah.
I mean, it was so easy to stop and
It
hug
was,
each other,
yeah.
drink wine and eat and whatnot. I mean, that's all you need to do.
Yeah.
You can go home to your families, but it was just one day. It's funny how that even possibly happened.
Yeah. Our birthdays. 1642, Isaac Newton, English physicist and mathematician. Very important figure in history. Another important figure in history, in Irish history, Irish-American history, Patrick Gilmore, born on this day in 1829, he's an American composer and band leader. A little bit about Patrick Gilmore. He served in the Union Army during the Civil War. Gilmore wrote the lyrics to the song When Johnny Comes Marching Home. And this was published under the pseudonym Louis Lambert in 1863, September of 1863. So very important figure in Civil War era history for sure, Patrick Gilmore. Another important figure in history is Evangeline Booth, born on this day in 1865, the fourth general of the Salvation Army. She was born in England, and like I said, the general of the Salvation Army, the fourth one, a very important figure in history, and the Salvation Army is really important as well. Another one we have is Louis Chevrolet, Swiss-American race car driver and businessman, co-founded Chevrolet. He was born on this date, 1878. Ford, currently the president of Ford is I believe it's the cousin of, blanking on the name right now. John, I'll think of the name. I'll look it up. I'll look it up. I'm blanking on the name. I'll look it up in just a second. 1899, Humphrey Bogart, American actor, born on this day in 1899. Born on this day in 1913, Tony Martin, American actor. And, oh no, sorry. I'm still reading the Humphrey Bogart one. American singer, Tony Martin. 1924, Rod Serling, American screenwriter and producer. He created The Twilight Zone. A great television show. I've watched many an episode. Don, I'm sure you've watched many an episode as well.
Oh yeah, I like the one with William Shatner. That's the good one. And yeah, no, you just can watch that over all day and all night.
It's timeless too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It is.
The president of Ford is the cousin, either the cousin or the brother of John Candy.
Oh,
President
okay,
of
yeah,
Ford.
you were mentioning that.
I think I mentioned that before.
Right.
I don't know why I forgot.
There's somebody that I miss.
Yeah.
What a great actor.
You talk about one of the best holiday movies, those Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Absolutely.
It's just that's another timeless movie. That's just what a great movie.
Another great singer that was born on this day in 1946, Jimmy Buffett. Born on Christmas Day in 1946. Passings, we have a couple. 1947, Gaspar G. Bacon, American lawyer and politician. He was the 51st Lieutenant Governor of Massachusetts. 1977, Charlie Chaplin passed away on this day in 1977. Also passing away on this day in 2006, James Brown. And passing away on this day in 2016, George Michael.
From Wham.
Some pretty big names passing away on Christmas Day. Don, thoughts?
Yeah, George Michael was big. He died sort of young, didn't he?
He was sort of young, yes.
Yeah, that's too bad.
And James Brown.
Oh, James Brown. James Brown. He was a pioneer.
Yeah.
And the old police chase in the 90s.
Yeah.
For 3 states or something.
Yeah.
He was
very influential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He worked with a lot of good artists too.
Your Troubled Life, but he was extremely influential to the music scene, to a lot of different artists that you hear today. Yeah, that you hear today as well.
Right. And it's funny too because you never hear about the charities that a lot of these artists have helped out over the years, because they do. They even though the press will give them bad light if they mess up or they make a mistake. We all make mistakes.
Yes.
James Brown made a big mistake when he was
several.
Yeah, I mean he was
several, but
a little passionate. But
yeah.
But I mean, I'm not sure about James Brown or whatever for sure. But I know a lot of artists really good to charities and they really helped out a lot. And that's important to keep in mind before you say something negative about somebody. Because you don't, you really
very important.
know. You don't know what's in people's hearts. You really gotta get to know them. I mean, because the
was
media,
extremely influential to music.
The media and especially the tabloid media, it's they're in the business to destroy people.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
That's if they're not destroying it, they're not making any money. And I remember all those magazines, that you get at the newsstands. And that was their bread and butter to just destroy people. But people got good hearts. It's Christmas time, and you have to think that more people are good than bad.
Absolutely. And it is 8:01. I want to say thank you to Kevin for coming on today. I want to thank Don, as always.
You're welcome.
Great show today.
Thanks for buying the donuts this morning, Joe.
Thank you. You're welcome. And myself, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. We will be back, and also a Happy Hanukkah as well, if you celebrate Hanukkah as well. Also, we will be back next week, the 1st of January. We're going to have a show as well. So we'll be back next week.
We have a guest.
And we have a guest as well. Chuck Hart, the president of St. Vincent de Paul.
The new president.
The new president, yes. So that's going to be an exciting show. So tune in next week to Middleboro Review, the January 1st, 2023 edition. I hope I don't mess that up next week. I hope I don't say 2022. Anyway, thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
How was your first debate? You did all right.
That was fun.
Kids listening? No, you gotta listen to it later.
They don't give a shit.
They don't?
I told them all last night, and they were like, okay.
Oh, okay.
Bye, everybody.